Hi friends, my name is Sandeep Gyani and I represent PCS Solutions. PCS Solutions is a niche company which is basically into data risk mitigation strategy focused at large enterprises to prevent any kind of a data loss. Now, this data loss could be from various sources, which we will discuss in the subsequent discussions. As a company, we are headquartered out of Gurgaon, plus we also have an office in Delhi. So basically, when I started this journey of information protection few years back, we used to talk to customers on what are their plans and how safe they feel from a data risk standpoint. So, in those times, the customers used to say that, they completely trust their employees, they have no issues whatsoever. But then we started a process called, risk assessment. Now, risk assessment was basically to identify how risky a customer is, how risky that organization is from a data pilferage standpoint. So we basically shared a few, very interesting reports with customers, and they realized that, a lot of their data was going into wrong hands and was misused by their employees, maybe some disgruntled employees, and sometimes competition also. So they realized that they had to do something about it. Second very important aspect to the entire data risk mitigation strategy is to identify and classify what data you want to protect. Now, if you look at a large enterprise, the data is residing at various places, and the data could be in multiple formats, could be TBs and GBs, and there could be huge amount of data. But do you really actually want to prevent all the data loss, or you want to protect the data loss which is happening, which is the company information should not go into wrong hands. So, so as a second step, the classification of data is very very important, and there are certain specified tools and softwares which help customers to identify this data. So this is a journey. This is the second stage. The third stage is to identify from where this data loss could probably happen. Now, if you look at a data loss could probably happen from, computers like laptop and desktop, could happen from, tablet devices, could happen from mobile phones, could happen from, cloud, could happen from network. So there are various sources from where the data loss could happen. So let's quickly identify each and every channel and what are the risk mitigation strategies that you can adopt. So endpoint means any computer or which is desktop or laptop, whether it is internal to the network or outside. Now there are tools which are available, which basically, when I say tools, it's nothing but a software which basically get installed in the computer, and the job of that software is to identify what the user is doing, what data is critical is important, what basically it does a data discovery to identify what data is critical. And whenever a user is trying to take the data away using any channel, whether it is using a USB or a Bluetooth or a CD or an upload or an email or a print screen, this software is basically going to trigger and take an action. Whether that action is to just to block, whether the action is to notify, whether that action is to quarantine, or whether that action is to send an alert to the management. Whatever that you specify, that software will do. Second very important aspect to sources of data loss is data which is hovering around on the cloud. A lot of us are using cloud applications like Office 365, G Suite, Salesforce, or SAP on the cloud, or various applications which are today hosted by the service provider or application service provider, from where, which the job is to basically give remote access to users to be able to perform their duties. Now, while the data is there on the cloud, how do you ensure that whenever the user is accessing the data using their home-based PC or an office-based PC or a mobile phone, the person does not misuse that information, that the user does not download anything which is for an organization internal use should not go into wrong hands. So we guys specialize that. We have various cloud access service provider relationships which we can explain to you and tell you which is the best one to be able to mitigate that risk which is there on the cloud today. Third risk is basically, the corporate assets which are internal to an organization, and the cloud is covered. But what happens to the mobile phones? When you talk about mobile phones will have various applications which are, giving the users to be able to download content. For example, if I'm using Office 365 or G Suite. Now, if I have an attachment on my Office 365 email box, I can download on my mobile phone and I can probably WhatsApp it, that critical information to somebody else. Now, how do you protect that? So to mitigate that, there are tools like MDM or MAM, which, a lot of these service provider call it. The job of those software tools is to create a virtual slicing and dicing of mobile applications. So, for example, a mobile phone which I'm using it, I could have space which is dedicated to my office, and there could be a space for personal use. So, and the data is not, swapped. The data cannot be swapped. So, whenever I have some personal data on my personal space on my mobile phone, that data is not shared between the office space. So, and vice versa. So, thereby the office data remains intact and cannot be shared in any way, whether you're using WhatsApp or you're basically putting across on a USB cable, that data will be not be allowed to share. I've been in this industry for almost like 15 years plus, and I've seen a lot of DLP implementation happening across from various service providers. Now, I think the biggest challenge with these implementation is that all of these tools are running on the monitoring mode. So, you're still not realizing the value of the product. You cannot block the content, or you cannot, make the user aware whether, the user is supposed to do a certain activity or no. So you're just basically, keeping a guard, which the job of the guard is to just, make a note of who's coming in and who's going out without taking an action, which is kind of, if you really ask me, it's no use to an organization. So we have, what is PCS going to do with this? Now we have, various technologies which we have implemented and tested in our labs. We've got all the DLP tools which are there in the industry today, and we've tested it across in our labs, and we can tell you which is the right one for you. Unfortunately, a lot of OEMs will come and claim certain aspects to a solution which may or may not be actually required to your network. We have tested it out, and we can vouch whether the solution in your kind of environment will work or no. Second is we've got the core technical team who will be there to handhold you and train the right employees in your organization so that they're enabled to take correct decision from any kind of a data pilferage. Third is during the implementation team, we are there to troubleshoot and help you out in any way, and we are assured to give you a successful implementation for data sensitive projects. So, this is all what we do. So let me know if I could be of any help to you. Thank you for hearing me, and stay blessed. Thank you so much.